there, this is the Sherlock Brew Podcast series brought to you by Sherlock Supercoach AI. On the show, you'll find actionable insights and bite-sized conversations with HR and business leaders on topics that provoke thoughts and new paradigms. To better understand and develop Gen Z and young millennials on your team, we'll help you look at new possibilities and gain perspectives to level up young professionals and help them surge ahead on your team. Hi everyone, this is Faye from Sherlock Brew, and thank you for watching this special video podcast with Michael Leckie, who is here with me. So let me briefly introduce Michael before I hop into today's questions. Michael Leckie brings over 30 years of leadership and consulting experience to his role in driving transformation in a digital world. Michael is a former Chief Learning Officer for digital transformation at GE, where he was responsible to accelerate transformation of GE to the digital industrial leader. He also acted as the Chief Learning Officer and Global Head of Organization Development for Bloomberg LP. Previously, Michael spent 12 years at Gartner Inc., where he most recently held the position of Managing Vice President. And Michael speaks internationally on the art and science of leadership, digital leadership, culture change, influencing and communication skills, and the changing role of the CXO leader in a socio-technical world. So welcome, Michael. We're so thrilled that you're here.
Well, hey, I also sold ice cream when I was a kid and worked for the welfare department. So, it's had its ups and downs, but I'm glad you read the pretty ones on my resume.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I mean, we've been, friends and colleagues for a little while. I'm really excited to be here with you and actually open up our first episode of this podcast on Sherlock Brew. We have so many questions to ask you related to Gen Z and young millennials. And our first question is that what is the importance of meaning in a Gen Z's life, in your opinion?
Well, the first question should be, why on earth are you asking an old guy these questions? But I will say this. I do have two boys that are firmly in Gen Z. And it is interesting to look at them as they, go through their lives. Certainly meaning and what they want to do and who they want to be and the impact they want to have in the world around them is something that is in their immediate, conscious, in their forebrain on a regular basis. Whereas it really wasn't for me at their age. I was like, well, where am I going to school? What job am I going to get? What am I going to do? It was all very practical. And in many ways, it was something that was given to me. This is kind of the way you go about life. And I've watched them as they grow up, as they think about what really matters. And it's led them to, make some shifts and some changes early on, which I think is great. I mean, kind of the, what we've adopted in life, we've talked about, what do you want to do and where do you want to go? It's like, well, what makes you happiest? What is it that you're really finding that you can connect with and get in the flow with? And they seem to be so much more aware of and open to that conversation, that at least it feels like, we ever were. So I think that, meaning means a lot more. However, the world around and a lot of the structure we've created and the society and the workforce they're stepping into is still in many cases manufactured and set up and run by people like me, who maybe it took us a long time to get to that place of really searching for meaning as opposed to just what is my job. And I don't know that we're doing a great job of assuming that they're actually different than us at the age that they are now when we were that age, in that kind of, early 20s range, especially. I think technically Gen Z is kind of like 11, 26, but hopefully the 11-year-olds aren't entering the workforce, but at least not yet. But the ones in their early 20s, I don't think we're accommodating a look at, a search for meaning in work near as much as we have or should be, because it was never really done to us, and we're not thinking about doing it with them. Yet we're all concerned about longevity in jobs. We're concerned about people wanting to stay and not hop from place to place. And of course, it's been shown that if you give people something with meaning for them, that's where they're going to want to stay engaged and be heavily engaged. So the best thing we could be doing is creating spaces of finding and making meaning in jobs from the very get-go. I just don't think we are very well.
So interesting, having the opportunity to get to know you and your family Even though I haven't met your young sons, I just feel like I would love to spend some time with your family, including them. And I know that your older son, for instance, pursuing something that's very meaningful in his life. I believe a nursing degree. Is that correct?
Yeah, you're right. My oldest son is pursuing nursing. And he's come to that through a little bit of a different road, but he's really realized that this is what he wants to do. And he finds a real joy in helping with that. But he also has really thought about it as how does it balance out and work for the rest of his life. And he's thinking about that, where with me, it was like just, I got to get the job and work the job and, do the job, and all the rest of the life kind of follows later. And, I guess what's good about it is I think Gen Z kids are embracing what their whole life is now. So he knows that, hey, I can work nursing and I'll work really long days, but then I'll work 3 or 4 days a week and have a 3 or 4 day weekend, even if it's not a traditional weekend. And that gives me a lot of flexibility to do things. And he likes to take photography and hike and things like that. So he's really thinking about a much kind of broader life, and not one laid out in a necessary kind of clear path for him like was assumed for me. What I think is interesting about this is I don't think that we're, again, focusing enough on how do you find and make meaning from the get-go in your job when you join organizations. We're still almost thinking of it kind of the way it was done to us, which is, hey, you just go through it. It's almost like hazing. You go through it, you make your bones, you work hard, and then, it gets a little bit easier for you later on. And I think that we like to brand these kids as like, oh, they're little snowflakes. Now everything is special. They've got to have a life. I mean, and if you think about that, how ridiculous it is. Oh, you kids want to have a life already? Wait until you're older like us. Well, how twisted and dark is that you have to wait until you're older to have a life? No, you should be architecting the life that you want from the very beginning, that allows the things that bring you joy that are outside of your work. And if we do that, it's incredibly clear that people like that will be engaged and be finding meaning in the place they're working, and are much more likely to be way more productive and happy than if we're just managing them to put in maximum sweat right now and live their lives later. So I have a lot of hope for the generation Gen Z and the work they're doing, and I hope that we don't, our generations don't squash that hope as they bring it into the workspace right now, but we actually create room for it to flourish and grow.
Thanks so much for watching. I hope you find it helpful. We'll soon be back with our next podcast. In the meantime, please share this episode with your friends and colleagues.